appreciate you taking the time and sort of spending this sort of next 20 minutes to discuss what you do and sort of what you've done. I'm super intrigued. We've never had anyone on the show that's sort of from an adventure / outdoor pursuits environment, and I know what you do about developing people. Having been through some of the stuff that you've done, so mate, I really appreciate the time. Like I do with all of the guests, you know, if you wouldn't mind taking sort of the first couple of minutes to give us the OG story. So who is Will? What do you do, and what makes you do what you do? So over to you, mate.
So firstly, it's lovely to be asked to do this. Again, this is my first kind of foray into this world. So presenting the life and story of Will and how I'll make people better, it is quite a nerve-wracking opportunity. So thanks for giving me that. So who's Will? So I've served in the military for over 20 years. In various different jobs throughout that kind of environment and across lots of different parts of it. Then that's led me to where I am now. The current job is looking after about 4,000 troops, regular reserve, and their day-to-day physical fitness, but also leaning into a little bit of the health and mental fitness aspects of that. So that's my day-to-day job. But the journey I've gone through to get here is been mainly in the outdoor environment, the outdoor world. So I've been involved in outdoor activities since school. So the Duke of Edinburgh, which we've all obviously is kind of the forefront of the life since the passing of the Duke. So I started down that pathway. I was lucky enough to grow up on the edge of the Peak District, and so climbing, hill walking was kind of my pastimes, both in school and obviously a bit with my parents as well. And I joined the army at a young age, and then kind of developed those like hill walking, mountaineering, and climbing throughout my career. But I'd never learned to ski at school. So I went to an environment where I could do that. So again, that was a skill which I picked up throughout the army, and it's a brilliant opportunity to develop unique skills like that, which I'd never had the opportunity to do. And part of that is the journey which I went on is to then give other people those skills I've gained throughout my career. So the army's afforded me both time and money to develop myself in those areas. So to then go on to lead the trips I've led, which I think we're going to get onto in a bit. It's a massive a number of building blocks I've been through, from just the finding my feet and learning how to navigate to right the way through to climbing unclimbed peaks in Antarctica. It really is just a number of little incremental steps and building blocks throughout that whole journey to get to some of the stuff I've done.
Sweet, mate, love it. And absolutely perfect segue. Yeah, so I'm super interested in pulling out some of the top expeditions that you've done, and you know, and they're super impressive to anyone sort of listening or reading about it. You know, kudos to you having done that, and you know, I've seen what you've achieved firsthand. So I really want to hear a little bit more about those, and then draw on sort of the human performance aspects and the similarities or the traits that have, like you said, those building blocks that, you know, from the lowest level of of adventurous or outdoor pursuits, how that can draw this peak performance mindset out of people, or encourage it within the people that you're developing.
So I'll kind of, if I start from the lowest common, then we'll work through it and finishing it. So really from the human performance element of the lowest level, it's really divided. It could be a simple, if giving somebody additional skills. Like I said, I joined the army and never skied, so it could be teaching somebody who'd never seen snow before how to ski. So giving them an actual just foundation, what I would describe as, and what some people describe as a hard skill. So whether that's the ability to read a map and navigate better, is going to make them a better soldier, a sailor, or airman. Or it could be a more on their a personal skill level, or another element is, it could be the ability to try something in a safe environment. So if we take a kayak roll, for example, it's not, you're not going to master that first go, or second or third or fourth or fifth go. It's going to take you a lot of practice, a lot of times, but giving somebody the safe environment to do that, so they feel confident that they can go upside down if they've got fear of water, and then to reflect on, okay, it didn't go right third time, right, what did I do differently to the second time? It went a bit better. And so giving them a reflection skill, so they can unpack their own performance and look back at it and then go, what was good, what was bad, and then put that into practice in the future. So something as subtle as that, or just giving them that mindset to give things a go, to throw themselves at the deep end. So you've got all these different elements. You've also got, excuse me.
It's okay.
Modern day world of Skype,
Everything
involved. So whereas I'm kind of looking at the softer side, and it could even be just as simple as empowering somebody, putting them in a position where in the normal day-to-day work strands they have and work, they don't make decisions, they don't lead a group, they're not in that level. So a young person, it would be getting them to stand in front of the group and brief, or make some decisions which, yes, they will affect the group performance. And as the instructor or leader, you may have be sat above them to kind of give them that guiding hand, but they've never had that opportunity to be at the forefront, because they've always either stepped back or they've not been empowered to be in that position. So to give them that experience, again, will give them a lifelong development of being able to have that confidence. So it could be something as simple as just giving them that opportunity.
There's a good point. It's that opportunity to lead yourself, which is, the first step of leadership. And if you can't lead yourself, you can never be expected to lead anybody else. And this is the way of doing it, or being given a safe, like you say, a safe environment. It might not seem safe at the time because you're trying this new scary thing. And you taught me to roll in the kayak in the swimming pool at Indy, so I've been through that process with you. And it is, it links back to that experiential learning, where I don't think we're getting it right, and especially in the corporate world and the commercial environment, it's very much classroom or convention, theatre development, these development programs that all very good. Theories has its place, absolutely, but you learn from doing, and you really learn and really test yourself through the things that you do in your environment, where you take people out of their comfort into their stretch, teetering on the panic edge of that bell curve. But that's where we really, really hone performance and push ourselves.
And you look at, and it's interesting, you kind of look at that corporate environment, and the psychological safety of a work environment is very important to the development of people within it. And there's numerous TED Talks and things like that on that subject, just looking at if people are allowed to kind of experiment and try things, again, within that safe sphere, as you talked about, that comfort, stretch, panic, it definitely enables people to learn better and be better at their job, whichever environment they do it in. But yeah, there is kind of a case where we don't like to fail. Human psyche is, we don't like to fail. And so to get somebody to push people into an environment where they are open to that ability, okay, I can actually mess this up. Yeah, I know I've got somebody there to look at this and make sure it doesn't go completely off the rails, but there's very few times where people are afforded that opportunity.
Absolutely right. Which, totally agree with you. So let's build up on that now. I'm keen to. I want to hear your stories. Your adventures.
So we'll lean on to this from day job really to kind of the opportunities which the Army has afforded me to go to all the continents on the planet really. So from the Arctic to the Antarctic, I've been there and not quite sent the postcard, but I've been fortunate that I can dip my toe in the water or ski down some snow. So yeah, I have had very eclectic travels, so from climbing unclimbed peaks in Antarctica to the Arctic, and both as a participant on expeditions, and then as I developed and grew my skills as, and then finally finished up as a leader. It's like 2 years ago, to the Arctic, to Baffin Island, where it's kind of a real, it was a very proud moment that I was able and allowed to go forward and lead that trip. Also, it was a massive milestone on explorers. If you like go through the place where most explorers want to go to, it's like Baffin Island, Greenland, Antarctica are definitely high on the hit list. So to be able to take a team there was really good.
Let's stay on that one then, because again, like you say, it's a super accomplishment, so kudos to you for doing that and the team for doing that. But obviously, as the team leader, what was some of the top critical challenge around, that's one of the harsh environments in the world. You're doing an arduous task. How do you maintain that level of performance throughout, or how do you help your team to develop that level of performance and then maintain it?
By really just getting them to be as open and honest as they can. So you can't ask somebody to perform if you are almost orchestrating everything. Everybody who went there was a volunteer. There was nobody who just like, and they've been through a selection process to get there. So they all had buy-in to the actual trip itself. So it was quite and not easy to kind of manage, but it was probably easier to manage because they'd all had that kind of one goal to get there and then see what we could do once we got there. So that was part of it. But being able to have that open and honest, and it could be as simple as, how are you feeling today, team? Like, who's tired? We've done a couple of big days on the hill. Like, where is people's energies level? Is it, are we like really down in the amber? It's like touching on red, like if something, and they're not right away, no, I'm up for this. Well, no, let's go and do this. So it could be as simple as just the questioning, because the environment's as risky as it is, like worrying about getting eaten by polar bears and whether you're their next meal, on top of, are we going to fall down a crevasse, or is there going to be an avalanche and things like that? So all the risk medium, which we've got to manage anyway, then coupled to the dynamicness of, we live in the Arctic, we've only got X amount of food, fuel, etc., etc. So there's all those sorts of things. So kind of circling back to how do you manage the performance of people in there, it's really just understanding the characters you've got within the team. Having been on expeditions in the past and learned from that, is if you don't understand the characters of teams and strengths and weaknesses intrinsically, it can slightly go a little bit off-piste. While we're staying on the skiing theme, it can go off-piste and it can kind of not quite derail, but it's not going to be as successful expedition as it possibly could be if you've got that. Because there's no escape. It's not like you can shut your door and go and listen to some music and chill out, or go and watch Netflix. You are living there alongside other people. And when it boils down to it, you are tied to somebody who might have to save your life. And that could be anyone in the team. And when you boil it down to that, it's like low level denominator. You need to know that somebody's performance is going to be able to, if something goes wrong here and I fall down a crevasse or get hit by an avalanche, are they going to be able to save me? Are they going to be able to dig me out? So that's the kind of, always in the back of your mind, the question you're asking yourself on those sorts of trips is, right, and if somebody isn't, so it's a case of, okay, somebody isn't up for it, or their energy levels are low, or they just go, well, I'm not feeling that. Okay, right, why aren't you feeling it? And then if you unpack it and you go, okay, they might see something from a completely different aspect than you've done. So it's like, no, actually, I think that might be a little bit too risky for us because like this, or it could be you've not noticed that one little nuance of risk. You've missed it because you've been worrying about, have we got enough food? Have we got enough fuel? So it's, again, being able to trust other people to take that kind of all-encompassing, it's like the team perspective, and put it together to come up with what you're going to do the next day, or what you're going to do that day, whether you are going to go for that summit or not.
I love it. I love it. There's so many lessons that business can learn from that, you know, because and this is why I love the idea of sort of outdoor adventure development, because it really does relate to any context. You can relate to any, and from a business context, having that, you know, like you say, you have your team, you recruit people into your organization, so they've ticked the knowledge and skills competencies, exactly like what you said. And then it's the attitude. You know, as the leader, you've got to trust them to do their job. You're there working on the finer nuances. Like say, you're managing the outward risk and the environment and trying to create a safe environment as you can for your team to do their thing. You know, and that relates to the boardroom, you know, into this corporate environment so easily. You just have to understand both two contexts, you know, which is why, like I said, why I wanted to have this conversation with you, to draw these things out, and it's so valuable for people in the commercial world that just don't get it because they haven't lived it. They haven't had the opportunity like you and I have had to experience this firsthand. And one other that you touched on, which I wrote and underlined, was the trust, the level of trust. You know, you have to trust the people within your teams, regardless of context. Otherwise, they're never going to do they're never going to be able to perform to the level that you expect, because they'll know that there's not that trust. There's that we're humans and we read things, and you just know. And you know, again, I've got a personal story where I can relate to you and I being on the rock face on our climbing course, where we do multi-pitch lead, and obviously you were assisting me sort of push myself, my leading capability. And I remember now looking down at you, because it was the hardest level climb I'd ever led on before, you know, and since, to be fair, I've done a lot since, but the level of trust, knowing that you were there and that you trusted me and in my ability to then push me to stretch my own sort of perception of what I could actually achieve. And then, you know, we went on and climbed it, and, you know, it was an awesome climb. But at that time, when you're doubting yourself, you look to those around you, and then there's that level of trust. Okay, I trust in his competencies or their competencies and their belief in me. I can do that. You know, it's such a powerful tool.
Yeah, and it's that it's not quite passing on, but you kind of almost pass on there. Right, it's your time to saddle up now. If you go back to the cowboy days, it's like it's your time to saddle up and to take the reins of the big bad horse and to carry on with that. And yeah, but you've got to. There's been times when I've been in that kind of training environment where I have gone, look, and the person I'm handing the reins over to completely doesn't believe in their ability. And you've given them every possible get out clause whatsoever to kind of extract them from that situation. And then you just rely on that deep down, it's like gut instinct of them. And it's like, right, they trust me, I trust myself, right? We've gone through all the progressions, we've gone through all the skills, I can do this. But yeah, but in the corporate world, there's not that opportunity to go through those incremental steps. And maybe the mentoring of those individuals may not be, again, provide a safe environment so that you can look down and go, he knows I've got this. If he believes I've got this, I can do this. So maybe the kind of like the mentoring and the way we hand over those skills maybe needs to be addressed in some areas.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Like I say, and this is where I see the value in doing things like, you know, team development in outdoor and experiential learning environments, rather than sitting around a table and talking about teamwork and leadership and development and communication and trust. It's like, no, let's go and do it. Let's go and test each other's trust in each other. And that's
I think having an experience, whatever the experience is, to kind of reflect on and unpack is very important. And obviously, I've been fortunate to have, I don't know, an infinite amount of experience in things to reflect on. But yeah, sometimes you get, I think COVID's probably the best example of it in the recent term. There is no experience, there is no rule book. You are literally trying to make those decisions, and you'll get some right, you'll get some wrong on every day. But it is really, okay, what have I got in my toolbox to fall back on to try and deal with these circumstances, whether that's just trying to get people back into the workplace, or whether it's coming up in the higher up levels of government to come up with solutions to major problems across the whole economy or environment.
Absolutely. So the answer is everyone needs to get out and do some adventurous training to develop their
gets my vote, but no, just any experience works.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree, mate. I'm conscious of the time. I do appreciate this little journey where we've gone down on down memory lane for both of us as well a little bit, which is nice. So I appreciate you sharing your story with us and sort of the nuances of what you do in developing peak performing people. So I appreciate your time, mate, and I hope we can do another one of these where we can sort of unpack some other sort of golden nuggets later on down the line.
Perfect. Yeah, first step is always the hardest one.
It is. There we go. You've preached that now. Cool, mate. I appreciate your time. Thanks very much, buddy.
No worries at all.